Otherwise, you're not going to. The pasuk of this week's parsha, Lo yisakal al cherish, Lifnei Iver lo yisiten michshol, v'yiresim elikecha ani Hashem. So, give me 1 second. So Rashi brings down that the pshat in the pasuk is Lifnei Iver lo yisiten michshol, that you shouldn't give somebody an eitzah she'eina genes. Somebody comes over to you and gives you a great advice, sell your house for very cheap, and punk, he's going to be the buyer. So that's the eitzah she'eina genes, that's Lifnei Iver lo yisiten michshol. And it's brought down in Sifra also. There's another drash that you shouldn't put a michshol of an isser in front of somebody. That's the famous, everybody knows, Gemara in many places, Avodah Zarah, Psachim, Nazir, where you have a Nazir and he wants to get the yayin, and it's Trei Avri de Nahara, two sides of the river, and he can't reach the wine. And you reach and you give him the wine, so then you're putting a stumbling block in front of him, you're allowing him, or you're facilitating, you're being afsher, you're giving him the capability of doing the Avera. And that's another drash of Lifnei Iver. But the regular meaning of put a stumbling block in front of him, that is not brought down in Rashi, that's not brought down in the Rishonim, that's l'chayra not pshat in the pasuk. So, why isn't that pasuk pshat in the pasuk? Shouldn't pasuk pshat in the pasuk be pasuk pshat and mikra v'yotz mit pshutai? So, they say a few terutzim. Now, before I say that everybody agrees that it's not pshat, so there is a Meshech Chachma that says that the tzedukim, it's actually a Gemara Nida, that Meshech Chachma brings down, Gemara Nida on Daf Nun Zayin, that the tzedukim Taka learned this pasuk to mean don't put a stumbling block in front of somebody that's not going to see it. Lifnei Iver le'sitin michshol is pshutai. But we don't hold like that. That's not what it means. So Meshech Chachma learns that Avada that is still a pasuk pshat in the pasuk, and there's really three meanings in the lav of Lifnei Iver. There's the pasuk pshat, and the tzdukim only hold of that pshat, and we hold of two additional pshatim. Don't give him a bad eitzah, and don't facilitate for him to do an avera. But the Achronim bring a raya. I think I saw this in Rabbi Rucham Fischl Parlos, the Sefer on the Smag. So he brings the raya from the Gemara that the Gemara says over there. The Gemara neither it says that they don't have Lifnei Iver b'chlal. That's dukim. That means what the Gemara over there is talking about, that a tzduki is neman to say that a bechor has a mum. The Gemara asks, why is he neman to say that a bechor has a mum if he doesn't have Lifnei Iver? So he's medayik. I mean, he doesn't have Lifnei Iver. He doesn't have it at all. I'd say they don't have the drash of Lifnei Iver. They don't have Lifnei Iver because Lifnei Iver is only the drash. What we have as the drash, these two dinim, the din of don't give a eitzah she'eina genes, and the second din of don't help him do an avera, that's Lifnei Iver. The other din that you're not allowed to put a stumbling block in front of somebody, that's a different halacha. That's nothing to do with Lifnei Iver. That's halacha don't cause injury to people. People shouldn't get into trouble. People shouldn't get hurt from you. That has nothing to do with Lifnei Iver. Lifnei Iver is only these things. So the question is, why only these? What about the regular? Why can't it be that that's the regular pasuk pshat? So they say over a few terutzim. The Minchas Chinuch brings down from. Let me see if I can find it. The Minchas Chinuch brings down from the Rabbi, 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 from the Rab from a sefer called, okay, just have to find where I wrote the name of the sefer. Not going to find it now. Okay. He brings down from a sefer that it says, Lifnei Iver lo sitein michshol. And sitein means to give miyad liyad. And if it meant putting the stumbling block, then it should say, Lifnei Iver lo tosim michshol. So it's a right, it's not to, Pasha Pshat is not putting something down on the floor in front of somebody. Okay? Others want to learn that the diak is from the fact that it says, the Yeresim Elekecha. So the pasuk is talking about things that are hidden, that you can't tell that the guy's doing something wrong, that you don't know what his kavanah is. So that's a raya that's talking about the drash. And others learn from the fact that it's together with L'sikal al-Cherish, which he doesn't hear, so he doesn't know that you're cursing him. So it's the same type of idea that we're not talking about specifically a bidafka putting a real michshol, but rather what we're talking about is these dvarim that are the drash. Okay, that's the first hara. Okay. The second hara that I want to talk about is that the Sefer HaChinuch brings down that, or actually it's a machlekes in the Rishonim, that on Lifnei Iver you don't get malchus. And the machlekes Rishonim, why? Some Rishonim hold you do get malchus, but in the Rishonim that hold you don't get malchus, there's machlekes Rishonim why. Some Rishonim learn that the reason is because it's a lav shebechlalos, which I'll get back to in a second. And some of them learn that the reason why you don't get malchus is because it's a lav she'ein by ma'aser, that there's no action involved. So I'd like to talk about each one of these for a couple of minutes, and then probably my time's going to be up, and if we have time, I'll talk about other things. So, what does it mean it's a lav shebechlos? So there's a pasuk in this week's parsha, different pasuk. It says lo yisaychel al adam. The Gemara in Sanhedrin on lo yisaychel al adam learns out 6 lavin from this pasuk, and 5 of them are for sure the Raisa, and the last one may be din the Rabbanon, but either way, 5 is enough to make it a lav shebechlos. Lav shebechlos means that if you have many lavin talking about different topics that have nothing to do with each other, so then that lav, that title, doesn't give you malchus because it's being branched out into many different things, so it weakens the lav and it makes it that. Actually, what I'm doing now is I'm putting my own 2 cents into the halacha, so I'm going to take it out and say you don't get malchus because it's not doimid to the lav chasima, which means as follows. The pasuk says lo yisaychel al adam. What does that mean? So the Gemara says that you're not allowed to eat Iver min achai. Iver min achai is achil al adam. The Gemara says it also means you're not allowed to eat basar kachim before zrika. Supposed to do zrika on basar kachim. If you eat the basar kachim before zrika, it's achila al hadam, on the blood. The third thing the Gemara learns out is the isser to bezdin to eat on the day that they bring out a person to be killed. It's achila al hadam. The fourth halacha is the mishpacha of Haruge Bezdin. That means the guy who was killed by Bezdin, they don't eat a sudas havra. L'soichlo al adam. That's the suda of the Avelim after the Kvura. And the fifth halacha is azhara for a ben sorer umayre, that he should not eat and do things that are going to make him become chayiv misa. L'soichlo al hadam. Don't eat to become chayiv. And then the 6th one is the isser to eat before davening. Now the lav of chasima, it's the lav of chasima, because you daven for yourself, for your dam. Don't eat before you daven. Okay. So lav of chasima is as follows. The Torah, when it says the chiyuv of malchus, afterwards it says l'sach shar b'disha. So we darshan that all the dinim of malchus have to be similar to l'sachsim shar b'disha. Just l'sachsim shar b'disha, for example, is one lav, and it only means one thing. So too, a lav can only get malchus if it means one thing. But if this lav means 6 things, then you don't get malchus for it. Let's leave all the machinations out. Just, that's what the Gemara says. Okay. So now, We explained another pasuk in this week's parsha, L'sechel Adam. Now let's get back to Lifnei Iver. So the Rambam holds, Kesef Mishnah explains in the sheet of the Rambam, that you're not loike on the lav Lifnei Iver because it's a lav shebechlolos. So where is Lifnei Iver a lav shebechlolos? So according to what we're saying, it's because it has these two things. It has eitzer she'eina hagenes. So one is that you're not allowed to give bad advice to somebody. And the other thing that it includes is that you're not allowed to put a stumbling block in front of somebody and help him, facilitate for him to give him the ability to do an averu. So Memelo, since it has these two things included, and according to the Meshech Chachma, the original item, but that would seem to be machlokes in the Achronim, if that's true. So let's just stick with these two. So these two things make it a lav shebechlolos. Now the problem is that this may not fit necessarily into the translation that we explained of lav shebechlolos. Because let's say there's a lav of loiselchu b'chukas hagoyim. Loiselchu b'chukas hagoyim tells me that you're not allowed to do this like a guy, and that like a guy, and that like a guy. So you're not allowed to do these 20 items like the goyim do. You're not going to say that that's a lav shebechlolos because it includes 20 things. It's all one thing. Don't do what the goyim do. So what's over here, these two things? Can we say that there's a one underlying concept behind these two drash that the that Rashi and the Sifra bring down? These two, and the Rambam brings it, and the Sefer Chinuch brings it. These two things. The Pashup Pshat and the pasuk is eitzer she'eina hagenes, and the other one is not to give him a michshol to help him do an aver. So the Achronim ask on this Kesef Mishnah that l'chayra these two things have an underlying component together, and that is don't mess the other guy up. So if the word is that you can't mess him up, and it's all one lav, then why is that considered lav shebechlolos? You ask him to it?
One zah, not a lav.
Okay. So
it's less one than the other.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm trying to get there. Yes. Okay, but it could be heard upon him that these two things have a connection. Okay, so they want to say api the achiezer, and this what we're about to say is something that almost every achron that talks about Lifnei Iver says such an idea. And each one, says it out the way he says it out, but it's Rabbi Chanan and the Chazon Ish and the Achiezer and many others. I'm forgetting now. Okay. Al Kapanim. So they want to say based on this that it's two totally separate things. The eitzer she'eina hagenes and the putting a michshol in the iser is two totally separate things. Some want to say that it's like a gather of Benan Lamakim and Benan Lachaver. I'm going to explain in a second. And some want to say that the nafkamina would be if you did it. If is there din Lifnei Iver shagig and b'mezit. So why is it called Lifnei Iver? Are you over on Lifnei Iver if the guy wants to do it? The guy's coming. He's a nazir and he wants to drink the yayin and he knows he's not allowed to. So why are you calling him an Iver? Not Iver. He knows exactly what he wants to do, and he wants to do it. So is that Lifnei Iver or is not Lifnei Iver? So, and number one, why are you calling him an Iver? And number two, are you over on Lifnei Iver in that case? So, why are you calling him an Iver? I want to get to that shortly, but it's clear from many of the Achronim that Avada you're over on Lifnei Iver on that, because they want to learn that these two parts of Lifnei Iver, two separate things. One is don't give him a bad eitzah. That's like a Benan L'Chaveri type of thing. You have a friend, you have a guy you know. You're not supposed to give him bad advice. Just like you're not supposed to hurt him, and you're not supposed to deceive him, and you're not supposed to do anything else. You're not supposed to give him bad advice. Don't trip him up. And then there's another thing, that you have a mitzvah. Just the way Yaakov Kamenetsky explains it, but not necessarily that you have to go this far, but he says that it's a sniff in every mitzvah in the Torah. Just like there's a mitzvah, don't kill. don't make it that someone else can kill. There's a mitzvah, don't eat treif, and don't make it that someone else can eat treif. Just like you're not allowed to do the Isser, you're also not allowed to facilitate that Isser to be done. This could also explain why it's Lav Shebechalalis, because it's basically every single Lav in the Torah. But that's besides the point. But Al Kapanim, so it's nothing to do with the guy that you're messing him up. It's all about a din, even if you're not going to say that it's a din in the mitzvah itself, and that every mitzvah, every avera that there is, has in it, besides for the avera, don't kill, don't be the one that lets someone else kill, don't allow that to happen. But even if you're not going to say it that far, but it's a din in you that you should not let averis be done. Not a din in that avera. A kloistic idea that Hashem doesn't want averis to be done. So you should not be the one that's causing averis to happen. So it's two totally separate dinim. And on the first din of Eitz Shena Genes, so if the guy knows what he's doing and you give him the bad advice and he knows that it's bad advice, then you didn't do anything wrong. But on the second din of the Avera, so even if the guy knows he's doing the Avera, but it doesn't bother me, so he knows he's doing an Avera, but you're still facilitating an Avera in this world. That Hashem doesn't want that. He doesn't want Averas in this world. So Lifnei Iver could still apply. So this is what the Yisoid of the Achronim is. B'negei the dinim, b'negei this din. And that's why it would be a Lav Shebechalalis, because it's two totally different halachas that we have over here. Okay. Now, the stipler, after I gave the title for the shir, what time is it? Wow. Okay, after I gave the title for the shir, I found a simon in the stipler called Ha'aretz Be'inyan Lifnei Iver. So I just thought that we have to share something from that stipler because we were mechaven to the title. So he says over there, brings down the lashon of the chinuch and the lashon of the Rambam. They're both bothered by something because they're both speaking out something that's funny lashon. The chinuch says that you're machshiloi la'asid because it's nasa like a heter. So what does that mean? You're not allowed to help a guy do an avera, not because you're helping him do an avera, but because the next time he's going to do it, he's going to do an avera. What about this time? It says the machshiloi la'asid, then it's nasa like a heter. It's a pellet. What about the first time?
It's not even the first time.
Huh? Very good. Yeah. So, and also the Rambam says that you being machshalim, de'ena yiroyed derech emes mipnei taivas liboy. He doesn't see the real way because he has, taiva gets in the way. So he's blinded by his taiva. So both of them are coming to explain to the stipler that Lifnei Iver applies even if the guy knows that he's doing the avera and he wants to do the avera. But he's still considered an Iver. Why is he an Iver? Because he wants to do it this time. And this time he's talking about an Iver. But the fact that this time is going to make it easier for him to do the Avera next time, klape that he's an Iver, because he doesn't chap that that's going to allow the Avera to become nasa like a heter and make it that it's mutter to do. So that's why the Sefer Chinuch is saying that lashon. And so too the Rambam is saying such a lashon because they're both saying that even if it's b'mezid and you know that you're doing it, it's still considered either blind in this inyan because he's either mipnei taivas liboy or because he doesn't understand the ramifications. Okay. Now the second topic that I wanted to talk about was the Sefer Chinuch's reason that the Sefer Chinuch says that it's a lav she'ein by ma'isa. So we don't really have a lot of time, so I'm just going to give basic Rashi Prakim. And if anybody wants to hear about it, I could continue the share after Myers. But I b'shit to try not to go over time. What time is it? We have 1 minute. Okay. So the Sefer Chinuch says that it's a lav she'ein by ma'isa. What's a lav she'ein by ma'isa? So again, we say that we run to the lav of chasima, of that you're not allowed to plow with your animal when it's muzzled, and we say over there that just like over there, the lav is done with an action. So too, every lav has to be done with an action. If you do a lav without an action, then you're not over. So the Sefer Chinuch says that the lav of Lifnei Iver is a lav she'en by Maisa, which is a pella, because Trey Avri Denahara, the classic case of the Michshol of being Machshel him in an Isser, is a lav she'esh by Maisa. So there's a there's a Tosfos in Nazir on Daf Yud Zayin, the bottom Tosfos. And Tosfos over there is talking about a Nazir that's in a Beis HaKvarim. And he's Noizer is Naziris. And they tell him to get out, and he doesn't get out. And the Gemara over there says that you would get mal. So Tosfos is bothered that it's a lav she'en by Maisa. Because he didn't go into the Beis HaKvaris, he was in the Beis HaKvaris. So, l'chayr it's a lav she'en by Maisa. So how could he get malchus? So Tosfos says a very hard teretz, and Tosfos says that the fact that he's not leaving is considered a ma'aser. That's the lashon of Tosfos, but I'm not really talking about Tosfos. On that Tosfos, there's a Haggadah of Rav Betzalel Ranchberg, and he says over there that according to the Maggid Mishnah, Avi, you remember this, right? According to the Maggid Mishnah, on the Rambam in Hilchos Schiris, Perek Yud Bezer Yud Gimel. According to that Maggid Mishnah, we could explain this. What does it say over there? The Maggid Mishnah says that if you have a lav that can be done al yedei ma'aser, and it can be done shelo al yedei ma'aser, so the fact that you could do it with the ma'aser classifies it as a lav sheyesh by ma'aser, even though you're doing it without a ma'aser. Hafla v'fela. That means it gets a new classification. This lav is now classified as a lav sheyesh by ma'aser, even though you're doing it without a ma'aser, because you could do it with a ma'aser. You ever heard such a thing? So Maggid Mishnah bringing down the Shittas Harambam. So the Mela, I have a lot to say about this, but I really don't want to go over time. But Memela, using this, you can start on a mahalach to explain why Lifnei Iver would be considered a lav she'en by ma'aser, even though you're doing a ma'aser, because maybe you could inverse this svara and say the exact opposite, and you could say, and this is the shita of the chinuch, that the same way the Maggid Mishnah says that when you have a lav that you could do it with a ma'aser and you could do it without a ma'aser. So the fact that you could do it with a ma'aser classifies it now as a lav sheyesh by ma'aser. The chinuch understands the exact opposite. That if you have a lav that you could do it with a ma'aser, you could do it without a ma'aser, the fact that you could do it without a ma'aser makes it a lav she'en by ma'aser. And the raya is from the chinuch in next week's parsha, in Parshas Bahar, where the chinuch says on the lav of simkeru memkeres ovid, that you're not allowed to take Eved Ivri and put him on the auction block and stand him up on the Even HaToyin and sell him, because it's the demeaning way of making such a sale. Stand him up and the thing. So he says over there, it's a lav she'en by ma'aser. Why is it a lav she'en by ma'aser? Because the guy could go up on the chair himself. You put him on the chair, you did it lav she'en by ma'aser. The teretz is that since you could do the same thing without a ma'aser, so it's considered lav she'en by ma'aser. So by the lav of Lifnei Iver, the fact that there is in Lifnei Iver a component that you could do it without a ma'aser many times, or even not only many times, but one whole component of Lifnei Iver is without a ma'aser. The whole thing of the Eitz Hashem Agenis is only a dibur. So since it can be done without a ma'aser, so Amelo will consider the entire thing, according to the chinuch, a lav she'en by ma'aser. And what still needs to be explained is there's a steer to this chinuch from a chinuch in the mitzvah of Hilchos Ba'yirah Ba'yimatzah and Hilchos Pesach, and the answer of the Shar Melech, but I'm too much over time, so it's to be continued.